turn the mic on. Okay. It's a call to order for the Big C meeting. It is about 9 o'clock, March 30th, 2022. So can you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to do the roll call, and I think we'll start this way because ladies first.
Push. Okay, got it. Good morning. My name is Cookie Kennedy. I'm the mayor of the city of Indian Rocks Beach.
John Hendricks, Mayor of Madeira Beach. Welcome to Madeira Beach. And this is our 75th anniversary.
Yay.
Oh, congratulations.
Wow, God, you're
Thank
old.
you.
Pat Serrano, Mayor, Indian Shores. Good morning.
Good morning, Dave Gaddis, Mayor of Bel Air Beach.
Yay. Yay.
Congratulations.
Good morning, Boyd Hamilton, former city council member for the city of Clearwater. I just came so everybody could take their final shots at me.
Bill Queen, North Reading Beach.
Let's go to the rest of the council first. Let's go that way. May.
Sure. Tyler Payne, Mayor of Treasure Island.
David Will, Mayor, Reddington Beach.
And Michael Robinson, Vice Mayor, Reddington Shores.
Okay, can we start over there with the audience and tell us who you are and why you're here? Sure, my name is Okay, ma'am.
Shante Skildager, Commissioner at Reddington Beach.
Rich Cariello, Commissioner, Reddington Beach.
Wow.
Cindy Kraft, Commissioner, Reddington Shores.
Larry Shear, Fire Commissioner, Indian Shores, Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District.
Diantha Shear, Vice Mayor, Indian Shores.
State Representative Nick Sedley.
Good morning.
Chris Kelly, Waterfront Realty. Tim Johnson, Waterfront Realty.
Gina Johnson, Waterfront Realty.
John Bishop, Pinellas County Coastal Manager.
Bill Prayas, Commissioner, Reddington Shores.
Good morning, my name is Jenna Byrne. I'm the president and founder of Water Warrior Alliance. We focus on marine debris removal.
I'm Mel, Fire Chief, City of Deer Beach.
John Warlight, Deputy Chief of Folsom Coast Fire.
Good morning, Ushkabahi. I live in Madeira Beach, and I also am with Northside Engineering, and I'm also a photographer.
Missy Clark, Town Clerk for Reddington Beach. Sandra Noble, Forward Pinellas, Planner. Sorry, Chiquita Clark, beginner. Jessica Morrow, Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber. Alex Harshaw, also Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber.
Good morning, Whit Blanton, Fort Pinellas.
Rita Bishop, Executive Assistant to Alex Redding, Sand Key.
Jenny Blackburn, Commissioner, Reddington Shores.
Okay, thank you very much. We seem to have a bunch of elected officials here. That's good. So, anyway, anybody, before we get started, I do want to recognize that a few weeks ago we lost a former member, Bert Adams, and I was fortunate to have served on this council for a year before he elected not to run for office again. But I think I'd like to have a moment of silence in his memory, if you would. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, can we get approval of minutes or any changes to the minutes?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, approval of February 22 Treasurer's Report. Cookie.
The opening balance as of February 1st, 2022 was $845.34. There was a disbursement to Digital Eel for $9.50, which would be the total disbursements, leaving an ending balance as of February 28, 2022 of $835.84. I respectfully submit this Treasury report.
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Correspondence, looks like we had an invoice we gotta pay. Is that all it is?
Yes,
Now, what,
that's all it is.
yeah, I was looking at that, and I can't, is this the hosting for the year? Oh, it's not the hosting,
No.
it's just the domain renewal, okay.
You want me to look around for if there's something cheaper?
No, I mean,
I will. It's up to you guys. I don't,
I don't know.
this
I
is
don't-
new to me this year, so I'll do whatever I'm told.
What do you want to change from digital eel?
No, it has,
He was just asking about the price. I mean, what do
No,
you
I'm
think?
We've
no,
looked at it
it's-
before. We've
It's
compared
only
it.
the domain renewal anyway, and you go to
That-
GoDaddy or something like that, it's about the same
That's
price.
about standard.
Is
Yeah,
it? Okay.
Yeah, it is, it's not, and that's a 2-year renewal, I believe, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's not bad at all, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
Okay, new business, we have guest speaker, Tina, where are you? Oh, it's gonna be, I was gonna say, I didn't see. Come on up, Whit, thank you.
Well, I guess I'll introduce Whit Blanton. One of the great privileges that I have had for the last 8 years is to be on the Ford Pinellas board. A lot of people don't understand it, they don't know about it, and Whit has really done a heck of a job bringing a new light to Ford Pinellas. It is a super privilege this year. This is my last year, so I'm going to make it extremely difficult for whichever one of you takes my place to do a better job than I do. We are doing all kinds of cool things this year. We were in Gulfport last weekend, and we rode bikes all over the town to see all the great sites that they have in Gulfport. It was extremely fun. 9.5 miles, Bill, just so you know, I rode a bike 9.5 miles. Normally, the person who's the chair doesn't do that, but I did. And,
You were the only elected official who did that.
I mean, it was very, very cool, and I love it. So we're doing all kinds of new things. As I don't know if any of you know this, and I like to brag about it because it's so important. The last time that someone from the beach mayors was on this as the chair was my mentor, Bob DiNicola, who was in the beginning with you making the Big C. And that was over 20 years ago. And so I always say it's big shoes to fill because he was just a big light and just an important person in my life and on the beaches too. He was one of the ones that really started to intervene and have a great relationship with Pinellas County. And so I appreciate that, everything that he taught me, and I'm trying to do a really good job on my last year. And we're doing all kinds of, Whit is just so open to bringing new pieces to Ford Pinellas. And as everybody knows, we deal with roads, we deal with sidewalks. Pat Serrano can tell you.
I will.
Exactly. But, and that's the great thing. I mean, Pat came forward, wasn't even a part of the 5-year plan. We met with FDOT. Ford Pinellas has this tremendous relationship with FDOT, and they're always willing to listen. It's been a really good, road with us with the FDOT. So I'm appreciative of that. I'm going to turn it over to Whit, and he can tell you all of the great things we're doing on Ford Pinellas.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say one other thing.
Okay.
You have been absolutely tremendous for us, helping us navigate through this myriad of things you have to do with FDOT and the county. And without you, I'm not sure we would be at this point where we're in the 23-28 appropriations period. So from Indian Shores, a big thank you.
Well, that's nice to hear. Thank you very much.
That's very true.
I sent a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if it's queued up, but if it's not, I can just speak, extemporaneously. I think I've got it memorized. But I wanted to introduce, for anybody who's not familiar with Ford Pinellas, we are the countywide land use and transportation planning agency, and we're independent from Pinellas County government. So we serve the cities and the county and all the citizens of Pinellas County to really guide transportation and land use decisions in an integrated, complementary way. And we look at all modes of transportation, from sidewalks to highways to regional projects, because we partner with Hillsborough County, Pasco County, and our FDOT region to bring priorities for funding for transportation. And I see we have Representative DeSegli here. We work very closely with the state legislature, which was very good to us this year with funding for transportation. It's a record budget. There's a lot of money in the state budget for transportation. Some of that's federal, some of that's state, but it all is needed in this fast-growing region. We are expecting to add about 100,000 more people to Pinellas County over the next 20 to 25 years, and that's real. In fact, when we put those population projections together in 2019, I was a little skeptical that we would see that much growth here, but over the last 3 years, it's grown much faster than we thought we would have that growth. So it's coming. It's coming to the whole region, and I like to joke that we're not building any more beach, so all those people moving to Hillsborough County and all those people moving to Pasco County are still coming into Pinellas County to enjoy all of our amenities that we have here. We have a couple of big initiatives that I want to mention first and foremost, and then I want to talk about a few of the transportation projects that we're advancing. We just kicked off an initiative to look at our industrial and employment lands countywide, because as you know, we are a very diverse economy. We have a strong tourism base, absolutely, and that's a big driver of our economy, particularly here on the beaches, but we also are sometimes second, but right now we're third in the state in the number of manufacturing jobs. And those are relatively high-paying jobs compared to the tourism industry. And we are going through a target employment industrial land study where we are inventorying all of the industrial and employment lands in Pinellas County, because for about the last 15 years, we've had a policy of no loss of industrial land. We've already lost a lot, and in order to maintain our employment base, we need to keep the industrial lands we have. And yet, as you know, you look around the county, not all of those employment lands are the same. They're not all of equal value. We've had the Raytheon property not far from here that's been vacant for 20 years. It's got contamination issues. We've got the Coca-Cola plant up in Dunedin. They're fixing to move out, and that's not really near any interstate or rail lines or anything, so some industrial land's better than others. We're also looking at surveying our target employment sectors, such as technology and medical and those kinds of fields, aerospace, to see what they need to move into Pinellas County, whether they looked at sites and couldn't find anything and located elsewhere, or they're considering Pinellas County. How can we best facilitate that opportunity in the right location? So that study is going to take about a year. It will result in a changed policy where we will add some additional flexibility and nuance to that preservation of industrial and employment land. We want to preserve as much as we can, but we also have a crisis in affordable housing. And a lot of those industrial and employment lands could be used for affordable housing. A couple of years ago, the legislature passed a law, House Bill 1339, that says you can put industrial, or you can put affordable housing on industrial and employment lands, notwithstanding any rules to the contrary. So local governments can do it, and we don't really have a say in that. St. Petersburg put a framework together that we think works really well, so that there's some parameters on that, because you don't want to put affordable housing in the middle of an industrial park, but if you put it near where transit service is or near where a trail is, or complementary services, then it makes sense. So that's happening. The legislature passed another bill this year that'll probably be signed into law, which allows for mixed use to happen on our industrial and employment lands as long as 10% of that is affordable. I'm not a big fan of that law because I think it undermines the one that was passed earlier, but at the same time, we got to recognize those legal changes and plan accordingly. So we know we need industrial land, we know we need affordable housing. How do you balance the two? The other study that we're undertaking is a look at the Alt US 19 corridor, Seminole, Missouri, from downtown Clearwater all the way south to the new Sunrunner project in St. Petersburg. And we're looking at that corridor as an area where redevelopment is an opportunity. The county wants to do regional stormwater to protect the water quality of Lake Seminole and the canals. And we see an opportunity for affordable housing and redevelopment to happen in that corridor around some type of transit investment, probably just better frequent service to start with. That we're kicking off this month. We will be engaging the cities of Seminole, Largo, Clearwater, and St. Petersburg in that effort, as well as unincorporated Pinellas County. And that will be potentially the next bus rapid transit corridor in time in Pinellas County. The Sunrunner project is being completed later this year, should be up and running after the summer, probably early fall. And we're excited to see what that can produce in terms of better transportation options connecting people between downtown St. Petersburg and the beach community, St. Pete Beach and South Pasadena. In terms of construction projects, one other initiative I want to mention. A couple of years ago, our board initiated a safety program called Safe Streets Pinellas, and some of you have heard about that. We had, in 2021, 165 people killed on our roadways. And if you count serious and significant injuries, it's more than 2 people a day who are either killed or seriously injured on our roadways. And that's a rate based on population that's greater than any other county in Florida. So we've got something going on here that we need to address. And Mayor, I know you've been real focused on safety on Gulf Boulevard. The cities of Treasure Island and St. Pete Beach are working on a safety study for Gulf Boulevard that we'll be leading. That project, we're working out some final administrative legal issues on the contract, but that'll get started in April. And over the next several months, we'll be looking at what we can do with FDOT to modify Gulf Boulevard so that we start slowing down some of the traffic and we ease the crossing so that people who are going from east to west across Gulf Boulevard or even along it are safer, whether they're on foot or on a bike or in their car. And that's one of our high injury network roadways. So for Safe Streets Pinellas, we've been asking our local government partners to adopt that resolution, which doesn't commit you to anything radical. It just commits you to working in partnership with us and with DOT to drive down those fatalities and serious injuries. And to date, of all the beach communities, I believe Treasure Island and St. Pete Beach have adopted that resolution, but I would love to see the Big C consider adopting it as a body. And I didn't bring the resolution with me today, but if you would like, I could send that to you for your agenda in April for your consideration if you would like to do that. I think it would send a real strong message.
Yeah, absolutely do that.
Okay, good.
Send it to me and we'll put it in the.
Okay, will do. There is the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law that got signed into law last year commits, I don't even remember how many billions of dollars in transportation funding that'll be coming to Pinellas County. A lot of it will come just because we're a large urban area and we're an MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization. A lot of that money is competitive. They are grants, and we'll be competing with other cities and counties and states across the country for that. And so if we're going after safety money, there's actually $6 billion for safety dollars that will flow directly to local governments. And if we've got most of our local governments adopting that resolution, I think it'll help us get some of those funds. We also have in that law money that will go for waterborne transportation, for capital projects, and Mayor Kennedy has served on our committee looking at water taxi service. Clearwater has been operating that service for a few years with the Clearwater Ferry. I think it's been pretty successful. It's given you some travel options during spring break. The county has initiated an agreement with Hillsborough County and Hillsborough Area Transit to operate the Cross Bay Ferry. And St. Petersburg is thrilled with that service. It's driving economic activity. People are using it, and they're not just going to Lightning games, although that is pretty popular, but they're coming to St. Petersburg and they're spending money. They're spending money in the city of Tampa. And, you know, it's not putting a dent in congestion on I-275, I'll be real honest with you, but it is giving people an option to not travel on I-275 during the peak period in the evening. And I'll take that option almost all the time. So, you know, we hope to see that expanded. There is a promise, although I'm not counting it, that within 5 years, the operating subsidy will no longer be needed, and it will be fully privately financed. The public sector will still have to pay for some capital upgrades and dock upgrades and things like that. But if the operating can be subsidized by Hillsborough, not by Hillsborough County, but by the private sector, then that's always better. And so that's the promise, and we're going to hold everybody's feet to the fire to see if we can achieve that. Our Waterborne Committee has recommended a restart plan for the Clearwater Ferry, which connects Dunedin, Clearwater, and Clearwater Beach. We hope to have those agreements in place this year, so by the fall, that will be restarted. And then the expansion plan, if that's successful, and I think it will be, is to then look at Johns Pass Village and Treasure Island and potentially St. Pete Beach for future expansion. It wouldn't all be connected, so you would have service down here, you would have service up there, because that's a long way to go by boat. But I think those little connections tied into public transit can help give people options. What would be different this time is that service would be under the umbrella of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, so that it would be professionally managed. There would be an opportunity for federal and state funds to flow to PSTA to support that service. And right now, with the private operators doing it, it's a little ad hoc, and it hasn't been as consistent as it should be, and there's been a lot of deferred maintenance, and that's why we've had the service now move to just a subscription service as opposed to regular frequent transit service. But that's the goal, is to get it back on that regular frequency. Any questions about either the waterborne work, Safe Streets Pinellas, the employment lands update, or our Alt 19 corridor study? I covered a lot right there.
I do want to make one comment about the waterborne thing. I knew a lot of people, our residents, that actually drove to St. Pete and took the water taxi over to, or I guess it was the
ferry.
The ferry, yeah, took that over to McDill for the air show last weekend, and the big thing there wasn't so much traffic as it was parking.
Right.
And that's where I think that stuff just solves a lot of problems for us. But Mayor Kennedy?
You know what I was just thinking when you were talking about the safe streets, that one of the unique pieces about all of the beach mayors is we are very connected to each other, and we speak in unison on pretty much everything. And I was thinking that maybe if we did a piece concerning the safe streets and how we're trying to change the part about people getting hit, maybe we could do something with all of the beach mayors and let some of them speak about what we're going to do different, what Ford Pinellas is doing different, and the issues that we've had in the past with, trying to keep people from getting hit. Mayor Pat could talk about, he's going to be initiating these sidewalks. All of you, I just think that we have a great voice, and that's a huge issue on the beaches. Mm-hmm. And maybe if we could get Amy together, and I think the mayors, you guys feel good about it. We could do a piece on that. We could put it on our Facebook. We could, on our websites, and we could each talk about it in our communities. And because that's one of the things I want. If you're not on the Facebook, one of the things I really think that we need to elevate Ford Pinellas, because it is, to me, it is the most important agency in this county. And so how do we do that? And as the chair, I feel like because you guys elected me, you're the chairs too, all right? So I'm taking you with me on this ride for the rest of the year until I'm out of there. So let's try to do that.
Okay.
I think the mayor, you guys like that idea? Okay,
Yeah.
all right, let's do that.
That's a great idea.
We all have a similar problem. We got one main
Absolutely.
road, and I think, Mayor Pat, you probably have the worst situation with that narrow stretch in your place, but I know what we have gotten, and I don't remember how many years ago it was, but we got DOT to change when they repaved and restriped Gulf Boulevard in St. Pete Beach, where we started, when I moved there 20-plus years ago, we had absolutely no shoulder, no bike lane, nothing. There was a white line down the curb. And they somehow we ended up with about 18 inches over there. And then when they redid it the last time, we talked them into squeezing all those travel lanes down to 10 foot. And that gave us 3 feet on either side of the median extra. So now we have a 4.5-foot bike lane, and it's still not enough to get people to beach cruisers and, to go to Pass a Grill. And we got that one stretch that's the only way to get there. And that would be my goal, but it's incremental, DOT is not bad to work with, it's so slow, it's pathetic, they tried to put a RRFB crosswalk right near my place, and it took them 5 years. From the time they started taking surveys of, okay, how many people live there, and believe it or not, us old people count twice because we're over 65. So we finally got the thing done, but it took 5 years. So
I don't know who he's talking about.
Yeah. I don't think they always take 5 years. There may have been something a little crazy about that one, but.
I don't know.
We got 2 of them in 2 years, so.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. What did we do wrong?
We'll talk.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, sharing, those kinds of stories I think are real helpful. I think we're getting another one put in Treasure Island, if I remember. I forget, maybe 138th Avenue, something like that. I forget where the location is, but I just saw the plans for that, and DOT is now coordinating with the city on that.
Well, you folks helped us successfully fight that thing about removing them.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a bad piece of legislation a couple of years ago. Fortunately, it wasn't filed this year. We think some of the modifications that the state has done about where those flashing beacons are placed, they're not going to be on any 6-lane roads. They're not going to be on roads 45 miles an hour or greater, and that's good. There's a different device for those roads.
Okay.
But we didn't want them forcibly removed where we've already got 300 of those installed in the county. That would have been a nightmare. So thank you for that. Yeah, we'll definitely tell that story. I also wanted to mention about our funding process. At Ford Pinellas, we don't build or operate anything, but getting transportation projects built and designed and implemented takes partnerships, and it takes money. And so we bring both partnerships and money to the table. It's not necessarily our money, because we have a pretty thin budget, but we are the conduit for federal and state funds to come into Pinellas County. And there's a couple of conditions that have to happen for that to occur. Number one is the project has to be in our long-range transportation plan, unless it's a real small project like a mid-block crossing. That doesn't have to be in the long-range plan. And we are just beginning an update of that long-range plan starting this summer. So we'll adopt it in 2024. The last one was adopted in 2019. They have to be done every 5 years. So if you want something done that's a fairly significant undertaking, make sure we get it in the long-range transportation plan. We can always amend it, but it's better if we go through the process and adopt it. A second thing that has to happen is we put together an annual list of transportation priorities. And unlike a few years ago where we just kind of put that list together with some input from staff and technical people, we now have a call for projects every year. And that call for projects typically happens around May or June. And then we ask local governments to submit their projects. And if they're bicycle and pedestrian projects, there's one pot of money for that. If they're major transportation projects like an interchange or something like that, there's another larger funding pot for that. And then there's some other different funding pots. And that's what makes this really complex, is the federal government and the state government, to a degree, have set up all these little silos of where funding can come from and where it goes to. And if you don't know how to navigate that, it all just seems crazy. Like, how do I get through this? We can help, and the state can help, but it does take that partnership. And sometimes it takes local skin in the game. Sometimes it takes, some sort of act or commitment of funding from local governments, or at least a policy in place. But most importantly is for us to put it on our priority list. And your sidewalks are actually going higher on the priority list so that we can get them funded maybe sooner than that FY28 year. So that's something that we'll be doing this year. So that call for projects will go out in May or June, and then we adopt that list of priorities every year the following June. And the reason for that year lag is because we have to work with the DOT on the state transportation budget, which the legislature just passed. So we have to kind of go through that process. In terms of major transportation projects that are happening, you've probably all seen the construction of the Gateway Expressway. That will be opening next year, so we're a little less than a year away from that finally opening, that will connect 19 to 275 and then 118th Avenue to I-275. The Howard Franklin Bridge is under reconstruction. New span is being built, and we'll be adding two what's called managed travel lanes in each direction. So you'll have tolled lanes and then you'll have free lanes, but those toll lanes will be priced so that the traffic moves at 45 miles an hour. So the price will vary depending on how much congestion is, but if you really have to get to the airport, those might be a godsend. And they will go, and the design will have those lanes going all the way to downtown St. Petersburg eventually. We don't have that part funded yet, but it's in design.
Is that 2 lanes on each direction?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll have, I think it'll be 6 lanes in total, so 4 free lanes and then 2 tolled lanes in each direction.
Wow.
And if they were all free, it wouldn't be enough. So the toll lanes will help manage that demand a little bit and keep the traffic flowing. I think it'll work well. That's pretty common. It's becoming more common around the country. The other thing that we were able to do with the help of the governor and the legislature last year was get the West Shore interchange in Hillsborough County funded. That's $1.4 billion, a little bit more than your sidewalk. And that was a major lift. And it took all the local governments around here and all the MPOs making that the #1 transportation priority in the region. So the governor announced that funding last year. It will get started in FY23. And the bad news is it'll be 6 years of construction because it's a major project. But the good news is it's needed and it'll finally get done. And it's been such a block to regional accessibility into Pinellas County. One last project I'll mention is that US 19, we have a segment from the Countryside Mall north to Curlew Road that'll go under construction this year that will be adding overpasses and interchanges at Curlew Road. And that's where a significant bottleneck happens if you're heading north or south on that stretch. Fortunately, you guys don't have to deal with it too much. Maybe Hoyt does, but it's a bad corridor, and all that growth in Pasco County is just making it worse. So we're excited to see that happen. The next one would be to take that up through Tampa Road and have an interchange built there. So I've taken up a good chunk of your time, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here, to meet some of you. Mayor, congratulations on your election. I think I'm coming to Bel Air at some point soon. So if there's Bel Air Beach, if there's any questions for me that I can answer, I'll be happy to.
I do want to mention that I've been seeing a lot of those advertisements on TV about Vision Zero, and I think those are very effective, maybe make people think a little bit, but it would be, I serve on the committee, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee for Forward Pinellas, and I'm amazed at some of the stuff you guys are working on all over the county, so well done.
It's a little tough sometimes because we have to carve out limited space to make these things happen. We're a pretty densely populated county, but that's the fun part of working through those. We do have openings on our Citizens Committee and our Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee for beach representatives. So if you all know somebody in your community who's interested and engaged in these issues, if you have somebody who's a thorn in your side, send them our way. We'd be happy to put them on a committee and get them involved. And
well, we only had 2 of us. I was on South Beaches, and there was I think the guy on North Beaches resigned, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
and we have 2 Citizens Committee openings. I think we got an application in today from somebody from the beach. But as far as I know, we still have 2 openings on the Citizens Committee. They meet once a month.
Yeah, and the only bad thing is that they meet Mondays at 8:30 in the morning and right at their headquarters, right across the street from the courthouse in downtown Clearwater, which, for me is a long,
You got to want to be there.
Yeah. Well, I've been taking advantage of Zoom lately, but I'm sure that'll go away eventually, so.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
It's a pretty dry bubble beaches.
Except it takes you a week. It's a Monday morning meeting. I leave Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, just
Lucky, Al,
Get up
because
a
I
half
was
hour
going to
early.
throw my name into the hat. for that, but-
Well, now they started doing, with COVID, they started doing Zoom meetings, and now we have the options, so I've been taking advantage of that, but it's okay, I'll do it, so, yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, if you could stick around a little bit after the meeting, I'd like to introduce you to our safety commissioner.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you very
Will
much.
do.
Yeah, one thing I do want to point out as well, about 2 years ago now, you met Michelle Rodriguez, our transportation director. We've got a parking and transportation director in the city, and her efforts have been extremely beneficial to us. We've been making better use of what we have for parking and traffic. We've started the shuttle service, that freebie, and, it's been great. And I think Treasure Island is also taking part of her time, so we're expanding. So, yeah, we have a interlocal agreement with Treasure Island on a couple of people that we share. So that's working out real well. So, great. All right, if there's no other comments?
Yeah, I've
Yes.
got one more thing. Something I would like to see is some marketing on Pinellas Trail, because we spent tens of millions of dollars on Pinellas Trail to help get bicyclists and joggers off the streets so that we could prevent accidents, and yet you never hear anything about it. And we've got all these cyclists on Gulf Boulevard. You compared the population here to other populations, and we have a much higher accident rate. But you're not comparing the amount of tourists we have to the other communities.
Right.
And that's what's contributing to it. And to say that we're slowing traffic down, I understand that's what's going on First Avenue South and First Avenue North, is that there's an attempt to intentionally slow traffic down with the way those bus things were done. And it just doesn't make good sense.
Well, to
So-
clarify, we're just trying to get people to go the speed limit. We're not lowering the speed.
Well, we're going under the speed. I'd love to go the speed limit on Gulf Boulevard, but
I don't ever have any
frankly,
trouble on
it's
First
not-
Avenue.
It's not possible. But anyhow.
Yeah.
I think with the millions of dollars that were spent on Pinellas Trail, I think we need to try to encourage people to use that rather than using Gulf Boulevard.
I think that's a great suggestion. What I will say, though, is that a lot of the bicyclists and pedestrians want to go someplace where there's commercial activity. They're in a hotel, they're already there, and going out of their way for destinations doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But for recreation and for exercise, absolutely. That's the safest, best place to be. You'll be interested to note we have counters all along the trail that are automatic counters based on cameras. In 2019, we had 1.2 million users of the Pinellas Trail. In 2020, it went to 2.1, and in 2021, it stayed over 2 million users. So 800,000 more users in 1 year on the Pinellas Trail.
If I remember correctly, because we have a representative, Friends of the Pinellas Trail, on our Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board, and I think the number they said in 2020, we had just shy of the same number of people on the Pinellas Trail as they had at Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah. But I see so many on Gulf Boulevard. My point is, when we've got such a congested area, why don't we try a little harder to get these people that are doing these aren't the tourists that I see riding up and down Gulf Boulevard. They're not people going to their jobs. I don't know of anybody that goes to their job in spandex. But
I want that job.
As a bicycle commuter, I
So-
will say I do sometimes wear spandex.
so I will say, I don't even want to go there.
Gotta be careful with her around.
But I would just like to see more marketing on Pinellas Trail to try to encourage these people to get
Yeah.
out of traffic.
We have worked with Visit St. Pete Clearwater to put together some videos on the trail. I think that's a great partnership, and we can certainly continue to do that. Absolutely. Makes
Thank you.
sense.
I'll help with
Yeah,
that,
to
too.
me, the big thing with the trail is that from St. Pete Beach, it's hard to get to it.
And maybe
We
that's
just
what
don't
we
have
need.
any access. You can't go through South Pasadena, you take your life in your hands. So going up to Central Avenue and Treasure Island, or going, all the way up to Bel Air, that's about the only thing we can do. Or Park Boulevard, I guess.
Well, and maybe that's what we need to do, is look at access to get to Pinellas
Yes,
Trail.
absolutely. We are absolutely focused on that. Good point.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, looking at our agenda, we don't have any old business that I know of unless somebody has something in their back pocket, so. Discussion items. Let's open that up if anybody has anything. Mr.
You got that
Queen?
letter from Oceana?
Who?
Hunter Miller,
I saw it.
I didn't see it.
Senate Bill 620?
I guess I missed that.
Have you got that with you?
No, I do not.
We've got Representative DeSigley here. Representative, could you talk about that Senate Bill 620? Absolutely.
This is
Don't
probably-
leave, stay here.
this-
I thought you were running for the door.
I would never run from you, Mayor Queen.
this is-
So, thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, members, good to see you all this morning. So Senate Bill 620 basically is a bill that adds, I would say, protection for businesses who might be impacted by a specific ordinance that's passed by local government if that revenue decreases or is impacted by 15%. My perspective, obviously, as a small business owner myself, is that anytime there's an ordinance that has a negative impact on a business, this bill will simply essentially put the burden with the business to prove that there was a negative impact financially. In this case, the bill says 15%. And if there is, then there's a 6-month time frame where it requires the business and the municipality to essentially have a conversation to figure out exactly what the problem is, and then there's an opportunity to amend or change that ordinance within that 180 days. There's an opportunity to do so.
Has there been an example in Pinellas County of some issue that brought this up?
I'm not aware of any issue in Pinellas County. And I do want to add that the risk from a business going down this route is that if they are unsuccessful, they are going to be on the hook for the attorney fees. And so as a small business owner myself, number one, I want to run my business. I want to be able to make that payroll every Friday. The last thing I want to do is get into a financial or litigation with a local municipality or even a county government. So I didn't see the bill until it reached the House floor. I do know that there were amendments along the way to make the bill a little bit more palatable for local governments. I do know that I believe the city of Largo, I spoke with them last week at a post-legislative wrap-up. They were satisfied with the posture of the bill as it heads to the governor. So I understand your concerns here, absolutely. But I do think that this is this is something that does protect the business community. And again, it's not it gives both parties plenty of opportunity to hash it out. And I think that's reasonable policy.
If I remember correctly, that started out that the attorney's fees were one way, that if the business won, they got paid by the municipality, but if the municipality won, they didn't get a thing.
Right.
And I heard that change. Wasn't there, in the initial version of that bill, wasn't there a requirement for the municipality to do an economic impact study for anything they did?
So that was a separate bill. That bill essentially required local governments to conduct a business impact study before they proposed an ordinance for approval. That bill died in the legislature.
Thankfully.
That was 820.
Was that 820?
Yeah, that's the one that died.
Thank God.
But have you got the letter from this guy that's asking, they're basically asking the Big C to kind of endorse talking to the governor about vetoing this bill. That's why I wanted to talk to you and let
yes, I
let
did
us
see
hear
that.
what you've got to say.
Yeah, I don't have it printed out, but yeah, I did see that one. I've got it.
Can you read it? I mean, the part that, what are the reasons? It was emailed to all of us.
Yeah, the bill allows businesses to threaten local governments with law. And, this is the verbiage from this guy wanting to fight the thing, so I'm just going to read it to you. The statute does not give a legal mechanism. Here's part of the problem. Does not give a legal mechanism for contesting and possibly making citizens pay for what their elected local representatives chose to do, thus dampen the desire for local laws without necessarily fighting in a democratic public forum or elections rather than in the courts. Florida Tax Watch, the business-backed research organization, has estimated that the legislation will lead to a number of financially motivated and malicious lawsuits costing governments over $900 million annually, because local governments will be forced to increase taxes or reduce services to cover legal fees. That's part of the problem that we were worried about. The bill would hinder the governing body at a local level when overall be a detriment to the communities. Senate Bill 620 can provide national companies with the ability to exploit the bill for the advantage against local ordinances. So that's why I asked you if there was an issue here locally in Pinellas County that you've seen that would cause this. And I'm just wondering what's driving it. Did something come up somewhere in the state that drove this?
We're trying to fix a problem we don't think we have.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. I wasn't the bill sponsor. I didn't co-sponsor the bill. Again, I saw it on the House floor. And, you know, when a piece of legislation like this is in front of me, obviously as a business owner, I have a different perspective. I kind of have a soft spot for things like this. I was in a situation myself, 12 years ago that, if the county had decided that particular public policy, I could make the argument that I would have fell into this category. And keep in mind, again, from my perspective as a business owner, the last thing I want to do is get into any litigious, battle with local government. It is not in any business owner's interest to do that. Folks are too busy running their business. But there are circumstances that, I'm sure that this bill would essentially trigger. But again, it's 180 days, as we know, 6 months is a long time to have a simple conversation with your local elected officials to, express, hey, this particular ordinance is having an impact on my bottom line. Here's why. Here's the proof. Here are my financials. Here are my tax returns. All of that is required for the business to provide that data, to provide that evidence that they've been negatively impacted. And I think it's fair to say, without speaking on behalf of anybody here, I would think that anybody who is responsible for passing an ordinance and that has an impact on a business, I would hope that you all say, hey, let's take a look at this. Maybe there's some unintended consequences here that we weren't aware about before we passed this ordinance.
Well, I think normally we pass ordinances to protect the communities. I mean, that's our number one job, is to protect communities. That's why we bring these ordinances up. And I guess I would go back to the short-term rentals and look at that issue as one of the ones that has affected all of us, that I'm always afraid that, somehow this is going to slip through later on, and then something like this is really going to hammer us. So that's my concern.
Well, we had almost 10 years ago, we initiated a meeting that's facilitated by the Chamber of Commerce, where monthly we sit down with any of their members and anybody else who's not a member of the Chamber, a business owner, and it's myself, the city manager, and I think community policing is involved as well. And we just give them a laundry list of all the stuff that we've got going on, and they can come to us with their complaints and their issues. And so we don't do anything in a vacuum, particularly when it comes to the businesses. But to your point, Bill, our primary focus is the citizens. And we've got to make sure we keep that balance between the business activities.
Balance. Balance is that's the key word I was just going to say. We need to balance this out. So I hope that you're thinking about that when you're talking about this.
Look, every time I vote on a piece of legislation, whether it's in committee or on the floor, I'm always looking for that balance. I'm always trying to, do my homework to make sure that if there are any unintended consequences that I'm aware of that. And look, and listen, to the short-term rental issue, I know, living in Indian Rocks Beach with Mayor Cookie Kennedy for the last 26 years, I know that's a big issue. I've spoken with many of you about that. I've got some ideas because I think, ultimately at the end of the day, this was an issue that was dealt in the legislature in 2011, long before I got elected. It's been an issue that has been brought to my attention the day I have been elected in 2018. I understand the negative impacts that it has on all of your communities, but I will tell you that giving full authority back to local governments is just not realistic. I'm not saying that's my position. I'm just saying that's not realistic. So what I would like to propose is, I'm happy to have a roundtable, throw out some ideas. I'm happy to bring some ideas that that I have found throughout this country, Arizona specifically, that they've begun to deal with this locally. And I think that, again, that balance of, not eliminating an industry that was born from 2011 because of state legislature and the decisions that they made, I think we have an opportunity to do something here moving into the next legislative session. And again, I'm happy to, have that roundtable. I'm happy to, continue, working with all the folks on this day. I've had, lunch and breakfast with several of you. And I want to continue building those relationships. It's important to me, and I think it's important for this body.
Maybe that's a good idea to set up something in the future where we can talk about some of these issues and
Could we turn this meeting into one of those, into a roundtable like that?
do a workshop, whatever.
Yeah.
Do something like that.
We could do something, yeah. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm a board member for the chamber, and the monthly meeting that
Please come.
Tim Johnson, board member for the Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber. The monthly meetings that you just mentioned that happen with the chamber and your city have been very successful. And we recently started those in Madeira Beach and Treasure Island. And so that's an opportunity to bring up any ordinances that you may be proposing or thinking about with the chamber members in those monthly meetings to head off any potential issues up front.
Right.
And engage the business community in those conversations. We are happy to have those meetings in the rest of the cities. Just let us know and we'll get those coordinated.
Okay, thank you. Just to Representative DeSiguli's comment, we, from our perspective, there's certain things that the state should ride herd over. But there's a lot of stuff they get into that, from our perspective, ties our hands behind our back, and we've got constituents that we need to service. So, the short-term rentals bill was, that's a perfect example, is where, the state was trying to put in licensing and notification requirements and inspections and all that, which was fine because, that way I know where they are. And secondly, you're going to pay for it, so I'm good. But when it comes to location, duration, and frequency of rentals, that's my job. But you were taking that away from me too. We're fortunate. We actually loosened up our restriction. We had, I think it was 6 months or a year as our minimum. In 2004, we passed an ordinance that limited it to 30 days. And thankfully, we're grandfathered in, so the 2011 legislation didn't hurt us any.
A perfect example of this is the referendum that Dave Will just did in Reddington Beach. They lost their ability to control those short-term rentals. What was the result of that election?
Well, we asked our residents how they feel about our ordinance, our longstanding ordinance that prohibits short-term rentals. And the referendum came back 86-14, prohibiting short-term rentals.
86%.
So there's a situation. And Nick, thank you for coming out and explaining this bill. Mayor Queen, I received that letter and I signed it and sent it back. So yes, we are opposing 620. It's another attack on home rule where Nick said, you mentioned unintended consequences. Well, what are the unintended consequences of this bill? Now, we are going to be on the defense now with lawsuits. So here's another situation where the town is defending itself anytime it wants to make a move. So, and also, this bill, taking 15% or somebody being affected 15%, this is going to put short-term rentals in a great position to attack our city. So when you're saying, you mentioned something about the local governments not being able or not having that authority, what are we here for? We are representing my citizens. They came out very strongly, 86% against this. And a gentleman mentioned this, had a great point about short-term rentals. Every time a short-term rental comes in, that house is not homesteaded anymore. It's owned by a corporation or whatever. So we're losing voters. You're losing voters. We go from a residential community to a hotel district. So that's our concern. We don't want to lose our communities.
Well, I'm going to jump in since it's my last chance. I've always said, the best sessions in Tallahassee are the ones that don't pass a lot of stuff. Because, every city is different. A lot of these bills come forward because one person has an issue, they go to their legislative person, and all of a sudden they put this blanket over the entire state when it should be handled at the local level. For instance, in Clearwater, we've got a couple of businesses that create a quality of life issue, negative quality of life issue because of the way they operate late, because we allow late alcohol sales. Well, they are consumed with making as much money as they can make in those late hours to the detriment of the rest of the neighborhood, the rest of the people on Clearwater Beach that are paying big money to be here and be in this area. So, I don't know where Clearwater's going to end up, but I know one of the things we've considered is pulling back our operating hours, making them stop serving at an earlier time. And if we do that, we're going to violate this law because they're going to be able to say, well, we're making more than 15% of our business from 1 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the morning. And yet it's creating a detrimental environment on the beach itself. So where do you go?
Right.
And it's going to be a tough road. It's going to be a tough one to resolve. Yeah. But we want everybody to have a positive experience, and this bill makes it that much tougher for the city to do anything.
Yeah, that falls right in line with the conversation I had with Senator Brandis about 3-4 years ago about the short-term rentals. And I told him, I said, you've got somebody who lives in Timbuktu or something, owns a house, and they want to rent it out for a week long at the vacation or a weekend party or something. And on either side of him, you got somebody who lives there full-time, and it's to the detriment of their quality of life. And guess which one of those two groups voted for me and for him? Because these are all your constituents as well. So
let's take him up on his, let's take Nick up on his offer to get together. I think that's a
Yeah,
great
I wonder,
idea. And we discuss some of these issues.
Would it be possible for us to do that as a workshop
I don't think that's a
following
good
this?
idea. I think we should have a separate piece with that.
I wouldn't do it at this meeting here.
Okay.
Maybe a workshop or something that we set up.
Okay, let's
I'll
do
get in touch with him if you want. As his mayor, I'll get in touch with him. You want?
She's stepping up.
Oh, no,
So-
you can. I don't mean it that way.
No, that's good. I mean,
No,
I
I
don't
figure
need
if I
one,
call him, he'll,
Well, we could do something like that. I don't know.
I'll call him.
how
I got to sell.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's do it. Let's put a workshop together on that. I think, because we all unfortunately, we look at Tallahassee as being the enemy these days, and, that's not the way to be running a state or a municipality. So, okay, anything else, you guys? I think that sort of satisfies the legislative update we had on here. It doesn't, unless there's some other representatives, I don't see anybody jumping up. Okay, good enough. We have a option on here for public comment. Anybody in the audience that wants to address the commission here? John? Yeah.
I thought I'd give a quick update.
Yes.
Since I'm here. So
Identify yourself.
Thank
For
you.
those that don't know you.
this is John Bishop with Pinellas County Coastal Management. The first thing that I have to update you guys on is the Treasure Island Sand Key Nourishment. And we did receive the federal funding for both of those projects, and we will be filling Paso Grill, Upham, and Sunset and Sunshine Beaches. They're going to be doing surveys and design work over the next year, bidding it out probably late this year, and probably getting a notice to proceed out hopefully February, if everything stays on track.
Of 23.
Of 23.
Oh,
So it'll be probably constructed spring, summer of that year. I don't have a date right now as to when they would begin because it's not even awarded, but usually they try to get out there April, May, that time frame. So there will be some activity going on next year, next summer, plan for that.
While you're on that subject, can I ask, do you have any, I don't know if you get citizens reaching out to you about that, but I mean, in Sunset Beach, the beach is like very, very, very bad. It's
Yeah.
encroaching on people's structures. So do you have any talking points that you've use to respond to their concerns? I mean, a year is a long time I know that, I fully understand the process with the Army Corps of Engineers, and I know that we can't move it up at all, but is there anything that you guys have kind of formulated to reassure them that help is coming, or what to do in the meantime? I mean,
I know that residents did put some sand out there to try to repair some of the damage post-Ada. Small amounts of sand, just they can't stand up. It's like building a sand castle and the wave just come in and wash it away. So, and I do recognize that it's very eroded down in Sunset. A lot of those walkovers, the piles are exposed. There's like 2 or 3 feet of air underneath the supports, which was a little scary. But,
so we have like half of our beach accesses are just closed in Sunset
Yeah.
because they're dangerous to.
Yeah, and I think we're
can't be
going to work with you guys next year too, I think, after the nourishment, to try to do some walkovers there and stuff to help to fix some of those. But, there's not much I can, it is what it is. I guess we just need to hope. I mean, the Army Corps is slow. So it takes a while to get funding, it takes a while to get the project designed and then finally get built. But, it will get built in 23, and, I think we just got to hope for a good year. It's, some of the sand has come back, though. Some of the sand has come back north of the little groin that's down there at Sunset Beach. The beach is a little wider to the north. Most of the erosion, I think, is on that beach to the south, which is, those condos are fairly well set back.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of green space. And so hopefully that'll hold. But, the Corps will be there next year. It's the best we can do.
In the past, I've seen where you've added steps to the bottom of those walkovers to reach the sand, because the sand disappeared. Now you've got 2 or 3 feet of air underneath the bottom of the posts that hold that thing up, so.
Well,
it's kind of, it's not a good situation.
No, this is the last nourishment under this authorization. So the next one in 2028 would be under the new authorization once it's passed through WRDA. And that one will be a slightly different design. So, we'll be able to monitor that and see if that works better in Sunset. And if it doesn't, we'll have to, look at the area and see if it keeps having the same erosion problem it has. See if there's anything else we can do down there, because the sand traditionally lasts about 2 years.
Go, John?
I have to say, I'm down there weekly, and I have seen them nourish the beach, and literally 2 weeks later, it's gone. You get a storm come through, and you'll walk out there and have to jump down a drop-off 4 feet because it has just carved it out.
Yeah.
And Sunset Beach is another area where probably groins more than just the one that's there, or something that really needs to be looked at. And all that sand is depositing in Blind Pass, and Blind Pass has really got a problem too.
Yeah, and Blind Pass will be used during this, so will Johns Pass. The Corps is looking at using Johns Pass, Blind Pass, and Passagirl for this nourishment. It's going to be, just from the inlet borrow areas, and the new authorization is going to focus on using those inlet borrow areas. So they'll become the primary source for Treasure Island and Monkey.
If I can just say one more thing about that, the Johns Pass borrow area is too far out. It is shoaled up so bad on that northern shoal that waves are breaking on it. I can wade out 200 yards, maybe more. The waves are breaking over it, and you can watch the sand come into the pass.
Yeah. Okay.
Where the waves are breaking. So again, I know the solution is to dredge, but the reality is that dredge, is a temporary fix.
Well, the borrow area dimensions can be looked at, and I'm sure
Okay,
the Corps would be interested in, whenever they can expand the borrow area, it gives them more sand to work with. It's less likely that they'll have to go to Egmont Shoal, which is a lot more expensive. So, that can be looked at.
Is there any restriction how close they can come to shore?
The Blind Pass borrow area is pretty close to shore.
Well, I was thinking of Johns Pass. If they could come close, that would help out.
Well, they're not going to want to get too close to the structures. The Army Corps will want to stay a good, so I don't want to make promises that the Corps can't keep.
Yeah, and I will say, and my hat's off to Representative Cheney. Madeira Beach Hopefully, the governor will sign it. It has passed for $1.55 million to dredge Johns Pass. It's 100% funded. So hopefully it doesn't get vetoed, but, everybody needs to be working together on getting this resolution done, because as a small city, and same way with Treasure Island on Blind Pass and Sunset Beach, we're too small as a community to be able to do this ourselves. And that's what we've been told for the 2 years I've been in office by the county, is that that's y'all's, you're on your own.
Well, and let me be clear too, if we were to look at the Johns Pass borrow area, that wouldn't be for this nourishment. That's too soon. There's no time to readjust any kind of design of the borrow area at this point. But that's something we could look at in the future to try to see if we can expand it and get more volume.
Yeah, because that's where all the sands that is collecting that's coming down from the north.
And also, too, just to give a quick update on the Sand Key Nourishment for everyone else that's right now, as of now, we still are required to get all the easements, but, they're trying to look at if, they're looking at the easement issue for us at the headquarters level now. Our project is a little different because it was authorized before a lot of these rules came in to play. We're hoping there'll be some kind of leeway there, but it's been elevated to the headquarters level and we're waiting for a response. So we're still waiting. But, there's not much higher we can go. So at this point, when we get an answer, I think it'll be the final answer one way or another, so.
But it's been delayed, what, a year, 2 years now?
Well, it was at the Jacksonville level, and then I think it went to the SAD level, and then now it's at headquarters, so. The delayed nourishment, though, it would be scheduled for 2024, but I don't see how we would be able to reach that with how long it takes the Corps to do stuff, and it's not budgeted. So they have a 2-year budget cycle, so it would take 2 years just to even get the money.
We have the worst eroded beach out there, and we gave you 100% of those easements.
Unfortunately, the rest of Sand Key.
I know, the rest of them don't need the sand as bad as we do, and we're going to get punished for it. So.
Well, I mean, Clearwater, Bellar Beach, and North Reddington Beach all were able to give us all of their easements, and I think that largely is because of the extent of the erosion and how recent it has been eroded. Bellar Beach and Clearwater, that only started in 2000, so I think it's all very prevalent in people's minds, and I think the other areas that started earlier, it's a little bit more distant.
Yeah, I have a question. Assuming that it doesn't get approved at headquarters level, is there a plan B? I mean, I know some counties do nourishment on their own.
That would have to be brought up with administration. That's deciding whether we're going to nourish on our own is way above my. I'm not going to speculate like that over here.
But it is something that could be considered a plan.
There are certain communities that nourish on their own. I think Indian River County is one of those.
Exactly.
So it can be done. But keep in mind that then they're getting, instead of paying 20% or less of the ultimate project, they're paying at best 50% because expensive projects require a lot of funding. You can get a 50-50 cost share from the state, but I think the most I've seen is 10 or 12 million. So if it's a $40 million project, you're not going to be getting $20 million from the state out of their $50 million budget for the project probably. So, there's some funding shortfalls, but, that would have to be discussed when we get to that point and we see what our situation is. Another thing that is coming up is sea turtle, nesting season, May 1st, October 31st. As you all know, we have a big problem with lighting on our beaches, and it hasn't really improved. At least, I don't think any of you would assume to say it's improved either. I mean, it's pretty much the same as it was when we started trying to, enforce those ordinances, so.
Reddington Beach has definitely improved.
Okay, well.
You drive down Gulf Boulevard at night.
And that might be, but the surveys still show a lot of lights everywhere. And so there might be some improvement, but I think we can all do better. So in order to try to tackle this issue, we're putting together like a task force We're going to try to have representatives of each of the municipalities so we can really kind of put our heads together and figure out what's stopping this from working, what's in the way, what can we do better, and how do we come up with a game plan that'll actually show some, significant successes on the beach. I'd have to look at your community in particular to make sure, but,
Well,
some of them
our
do show a little bit of a decline. You're right. Some of them do show that, but by and large, there's significant issues everywhere.
Our Public Works Commissioner is here, and he will corner you after the meeting.
But, and one thing I know that we can all do at the city level at least is work on the streetlights. And now that Duke and DOT have streetlights that are turtle-friendly, Treasure Island's done a lot of work in this area. I know Stacy has offered to give info to any of the cities that are they're thinking about doing it themselves, and they said especially if you're going through undergrounding right now, it's really easy to try to get those lights changed out to the turtle-friendly lights. And, there could be some benefit to the residents living there too, because I don't think anyone is fond of those really bright white LED lights that burn a hole in your eye, so.
I've had a lot of complaints, and we're looking at different colors and levels and everything else with Duke right now, so.
Yeah, so we've sent that out to the cities, and so we're waiting to hear back to see who would be a good representative who can, does, either works on the turtle lighting themselves or, would be able to help figure out a solution at the city level too. And
Okay.
that's all I have.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, John, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody, Richard? Yes, please. We're running late, so make it quick, please.
Yes, I will. Rich Cariello, Commissioner Reddington Beach, also part of Public Works. And in response to the turtle light situation, within Reddington Beach, we have already initiated changing all the lights along Gulf Boulevard to turtle-friendly lights. And we are currently in process of working with Duke Energy. As a matter of fact, we have some test lights, which are LED, lower wattage, lower light spread, which we are about to implement. So all the lights within the town will be updated to the new LED light. And currently, actually at an expensive additional $6,000 a year, we are using turtle-friendly lights on Gulf Boulevard to help the turtle situation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
And good morning, just briefly, I'm Lindsay Cross. I'm running for the Florida State House of Representatives. I'm running in a district that includes St. Pete and Pinellas Park, so a little bit east of you, but I'm very motivated to help you protect your local home rule and local control, as well as improving the quality of our water and our environment. So happy to talk with you. Again, I'm Lindsay Cross. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. I guess we're on to city events. Let's start down there.
Everything's, we just broke ground on our new lift station with the county, $5 million project. Should be good.
The Sugar Sand Festival on Clearwater Beach will be starting shortly. It's a great event, and I encourage everybody to get out and experience it.
Okay, thank you.
How quiet in Bel Air Beach next month?
We're excited about we have a new fire truck, Pinellas Suncoast, and Station 26, which is going to be located in the south part of Indian Shores. And it's going to be a full-service vehicle and station, and we are really excited about it. And thank you so much. I see we got a couple of folks there from Pinellas Suncoast and the commissioner. Thank you.
Of course, I mentioned earlier, this is our 75th anniversary this year in Madeira Beach. We've got a number of things going on. By the way, turtle lights, they are coming to Madeira Beach from one end to the other of Gulf Boulevard. That'll be happening probably in the next few months. Archibald Park is getting a Moby mat that will be installed. They're actually installing it today. We're going to have a ribbon cutting on it next week, I think on the 6th. Kingfish tournament, of course, is coming up. And also, we just got a fireboat, and it actually was used in a rescue a few days ago. So we're happy to get that. So Madeira Beach is moving forward quite well.
Thank you.
I guess it's pretty. It's quiet, but I did want to mention at our April 12th meeting that Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue will be there, and we are going to, they're going to be honoring some of the firemen and policemen who were involved in the chase that went down on the beaches, starting in Dunedin, went down to Clearwater and through Gulf Boulevard. So trying to take care of our local good guys.
Thank you. David, you want to start?
Well, first, I'd like to thank John Hendricks and the city of Madeira Beach for letting Reddington Beach use their facility to host, and also thank Mr. Messmore from Sweet Sage for providing our breakfast this morning. And also, this weekend, we have a group in town, a charity group that was founded in Reddington Beach called Santa's Angels. They are putting on a charity fundraising event this Saturday night in Town Park called Havana Nights. It's a themed party. There's going to be an antique car show, there's going to be a cigar roller, and also a Latin band. So please come on out and enjoy the evening with us.
Thank you. Treasure Island.
Yeah, speaking of antique car shows, in Treasure Island, we have the American Legion post in Treasure Island hosting a car and truck show on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. in the Treasure Island Community Center Park. It's free admission. There will be 118 total awards given out to Best in Show, and it benefits the Sons of the American Legion, Rock Park here in Madeira Beach, and the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. So please come out and support our troops and our veterans at the car show.
Thank you.
And nothing from Reddington Shores.
St. Pete Beach is winding down for the summer, so we're doing, actually there's a concert this Friday night at Horian Park and another one the 15th of April, hoping the weather cooperates. But we have the usual Sunday market on Corey and the Saturday art mark down Paso Grill, so please come see us. And with that being said, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.